we celebrate the centennial of the Shenandoah National Park, including the Blue Ridge Mountains. Here in Virginia, much of my research is conducted throughout the state, gathering reports, but mainly my main focus is from the Blue Ridge Mountains ranging all the way through the Allegheny Mountains and through northern Virginia down to south central parts of Virginia. Today I want to talk a little bit about the national park in the Blue Ridge Mountains. A little bit of brief information about the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Blue Ridge Mountains, their highest elevation reaches over 6,000 feet. The Blue Ridge Parkway reaching a length of 469 miles. The parkway was established on June 30th, 1936. Shenandoah National Park includes 3,000 miles of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the central Appalachians. The park rises above the Virginia Piedmont to its east and the Shenandoah Valley to its west. Two peaks exceed over 4,000 feet. The range of elevation slopes and aspects of the mountains and the hillside, rock and soil types, precipitation conditions, and latitude interact to create a mix of habitats. With the species are very large and abundant here. The Shenandoah serves as a refuge for many species of animals otherwise pressured by human activities, development, and other land uses. There are over 190 resident and transient bird species, over 50 species of mammals, over 50 reptile and amphibian species, and over 35 fish species found in the park. Only incomplete records of insects, spiders, and other invertebrates are available, so the total number of different species of these groups is unknown. A handful of these species are large and conspicuous and therefore easily found by visitors. The park provides boundless opportunities to the public to search for and discover the thousands of other park residents. Now, with that being said, for those who've been following my research and know who I am, Daniel Benoit, I am the founder of the ECBRO, the East Coast BIGFOOT Researchers Organization. I gather reports and study along various locations of the East Coast, but I'm a Virginia resident, and my main focus here is in Virginia. Now, I've been studying a few various locations here in the Shenandoah Valley, and I've been gathering very recent reports dating back for the last 5-6 years, and some of my recent reports are along the Blue Ridge Mountains, and also ranging further west to the Allegheny Mountains. So as we celebrate the centennial, I want to get into some brief discussions and share some information on some of the ecology and the research that I've conducted here. You can see some of my field work if you go through some of my archive videos. Also, we're going to hear from others. I was in a discussion with a few others, and I've talked and gathered some information from them as they were willing to share and speak on their behalf on some of the knowledge that they've known, some of their experiences whatsoever, and what got them involved in studying and researching into the subject of Bigfoot, other known as Sasquatch. So we're going to get to that very shortly. And after all this is said and done, we're going to be sharing maybe a few pictures here and there, including in part of the discussion. But I want to give you a presentation of the Shenandoah National Parkway and the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Blue Ridge Mountains ranges from here in Virginia down to North Carolina and so forth. It's a very long range of mountains, and it's very vast. And also, you got the Appalachian Trail. You cannot forget about the Appalachian Trail that runs from the state of Maine all the way down to Georgia. Of course, and there's other reports that follow with that as well. And there's people that's specifically studying and researching the Appalachian Trail. So I have a number of reports. I might even share one or two with you and give you a description of the activity that's taken place. Maybe a description to the best of my ability, relaying back from my reports. Also, again, from the others with the discussion I had, you may hear some of their experience with the reports they might be willing to share. So, and again, we'll get to that very shortly. So, stay tuned.
Okay, what got me started was on November the 24th, 2015, during firearm season. I was bow hunting, And I went back up one behind the hill here, behind the house. On the south side, I drove the whole road that went up through there. It goes up to the towers. There's like cellular towers up there and everything. I drove up there, pulled over, because one up the road you go, and then there's a big curve, and usually there's a buck over in that area, and I can look straight down to see it. So I decided to park further away to walk up the road, and I was interrupted on that trip. I looked over to my left down in the hollow, going down, and what I thought was a black bear. And I pull up my binoculars, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, what? Wait, what? Because there was a light, like a thin, white strip of hair that went down its back. And the rest of it was like a lighter black color. Not gray, but lighter black. And I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, what's wrong with this? And I'm sitting there looking. I'm looking through binoculars. And I'm looking at its back. Its shoulders were hunkered down. Its shoulders were pulled in, and its legs were pulled in. I couldn't see legs or arms. But I couldn't see its bottom either. And I'm like, is this some kind of joke? You know, what is this? And I'm standing there. And all the while that I'm looking at this thing, there are like little sandstone pebbles being tossed down along the road. And I keep telling myself, oh, it's a chipmunk. Don't worry about it. It's just a chipmunk. You know, it's running around. It's not the stuff. Please just keep your eye on the ball down here. Don't look away. So I continued watching, and the longer I stood there, it did not want to turn its head. And then I started talking out loud. What is that? What is that? And when I did that several times later, it turned its head. Just turned its head towards me. And I could see its face was black as night. I mean, black as black. And its face looked like smooth leather stretched across, you know, just smooth as a smooth. Didn't have any wrinkles or anything like that. And its ear was shaped exactly like mine and yours and his. You know, I didn't see any teeth. I couldn't make out the mouth because it was all black and it was keeping its mouth shut. And so I kind of cleaned up because I didn't want to show any teeth either. I didn't want anything to be aggressive. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking at its eyes. Its eyes looked like that of a gorilla's eyes. They're brown with black people. You couldn't really see the white unless it moved its eye to the left or right. You couldn't really see the white. And its nose was like ours, came out like ours, but flatter and wider. Okay? And its nostrils were flared because it was scared. I mean, you could just read fear all over it. I wasn't afraid. I was staying there calm because I had a rifle. I had my 30-30. It was loaded, fully loaded. So that wasn't a problem. But I just stood there looking at it, and like, I did take one step back, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be seeing this, I don't think. But all the while, this stuff was being thrown towards me on the road. Not one thing hit me. Nothing hit me. But it came right near me. Excuse me. But it came right near me. But those stones would start getting bigger. You know? And I kind of looked at this thing really, really good, but I couldn't understand why I couldn't see its bottom. You know, it just didn't make any sense to me. And as the stones were getting bigger, I had to turn around because something was getting closer to me. I mean, you know, something else behind me was getting closer to me, and I had to turn around. I turned around, and I looked at things real quick to see if I could see anything, any body shape or any form behind me. And then when I turned right back around, it didn't take very long. When I turned right back around, that thing was gone. There was nothing there. It was gone. That fast. That's what got me started in research.
So that time, like, from that time, like, you laid eyes, like, what kind of time frame was that?
2 minutes is what.
2 minutes?
A little bit longer. No, 12 to 15.
Oh
I
wow.
was sitting there
Okay.
for the longest time trying to get it to turn around. I was not going to move from that spot until it turned its head around. I wanted to see what that was. When it first turned its head around, all kinds of thoughts were going through my head. Like, oh my God, there's some kids down there, and somebody's ape got loose, or somebody's really got loose. You know, there's all kind of rescues of exotic animals around here, you know. So I was like, okay, somebody's gorilla got loose, or ape, you know, until I took that one good look at that face, and I was like, gorilla, ape, man thing,
Mm.
you know. Okay, that's what we're doing. I mean, so much stuff goes through your mind that you can't keep track of everything that you're thinking, you know? It's like, what?
Now, what year was did this take place in? Was it
This past
2014?
November.
Oh, okay. So, okay, 2015.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, if I remember correctly, like I was browsing through different databases online earlier today, and I think I remember coming across yours because you did say originally you had submitted your report to the BFRO.
Listen in. And
Okay,
I haven't done that.
yeah, because I think I read yours because it did say yeah it was in Somerville, West Virginia. So
Yeah.
so okay, yeah, because I remember you told me you did that, and I was like, oh, this must be hers. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, see, I told my husband, and he went back up there and found, like, there was like 6 locust trees that had been totally just twisted right off. And 5 of the rest of the tree was missing, but only one still had the piece of the tree there inside of it. I
Hmm.
don't know what they did with that, but I think it had to do with that. Um, I did go back up there a few days after that. Might have been the next day even. And I had an old straight talk phone. You know, those cheap little phones. I guess it was $100 thing. And that's where those one pictures came off of that. So it was right
Hmm.
at the same time there. Just a few days difference. But they were there. I felt something was there, but I thought it was bear and stuff, but it was them. There's one there.
Hmm. Now, have at any time have you ever felt threatened by any of them while out in the woods?
No. No.
No.
No. I think it depends on the individual person
Yeah.
of how they want to react. I think they know all about you. You know, I think they do.
Yeah. I have to believe that because I think you know I like if I wanted to share like I've shared this a number of times like there's an encounter the 6 of us encountered and, together, and one of those individuals were Tracy Arnold. Now, and what we observed and encountered, from what we've seen, it's like, in most cases, I think people would have been frightened or terrified. In some cases, you hear that, but I think because we weren't alone. We were 6 of us in a group. This is late after midnight, and what we were seeing was, I think, like overwhelming at first, till when we realized what we were seeing and observing, it was very exciting. And for them to stand there, they kept their distance, no doubt. But from what we gathered from that, well, apparently they were very curious to stay around as long as they did before they took off. But I think you hear that a lot from different people that they are curious, or maybe in some instances, some circumstances, they're just if you encounter them at the wrong time, a lot of times they might immediately take off or disappear. I mean, and they don't want to be bothered. It's like, I mean, I've had an encounter at nighttime one time, and even though I did not see anything this one particular time, I knew what was there because if you think about it, and if you know all the animals that are in the woods, big or small, and I can tell you in my area there's some big monster bears. I mean, I've seen them, my father's seen them, and I know what bears sound like, both walking and running. And what I heard was
They're
not a
noisy.
bear. Yeah, yeah,
They
and what I
are noisy, noisy.
yeah, well, actually, a lot, majority of the time, most bears I've seen, or taking off real at close range, you'll hear them at first, especially like I've had come one a small, probably 150-pound one come out of a tree and take off like lightning, and you'll hear them scuffle in the leaves as soon as they take off, but the ones I've always observed have been very quiet. Even the big ones, it's just the way they step. Their steps are so quiet because the way,
Monster.
yeah. Um, but now what I heard, there was no denying what I heard was very large and heavy. Every step was up. You could feel it and hear it. I mean, I'm not saying he was over 1,000 pounds, but because I can't say because I didn't see. So I mean, it's only speculation on my part. To assume, that it was a large subject because I have to go strictly by sound of what I was hearing and feeling. So, but what I heard, I could honestly rule out a bear. We know a bear. We know a deer ain't gonna sound like that. But what I was hearing was a very large bipedal subject. Now, hey, if it was something else, if there was an elephant in the woods, well, I don't know who put it there, you know. But yeah, I mean, but as far as feeling, I think some people have had rocks thrown at them. I've had one thrown at me before, but it was a small one. Real good friend of mine that lives locally here. He's a Iraqi veteran. What got him involved with Bigfoot? He was hunting and part of the parkway, and he was in a location where it was only him and one other person, but that other person was like 15 feet in front of him. But there was a high ridge on the side of him. He had, uh, from out of nowhere, he had a rock come like flying down with force right in front of him, and I think he said it happened twice. And he says he knew it wasn't no other animal throwing a rock with force. He said the size of the stone was probably about a little bit bigger than a softball. So, and I hear that a lot. People describe when rocks get thrown, they're about the
Well,
size of
see,
a softball or maybe bigger.
you're
Uh,
talking about rocks there being thrown. That's why I went to Holly River because we were fishing there and something was throwing rocks in the river across. There was like a power line on one part of the river there, and it's so if you look it up, you'll see that it is way back in there. Okay, it's another county over as far as that goes, or something like that. Pretty good distance, but something was throwing rocks in the water, and I wanted to keep going back to my river to fish because I knew eventually I was going to see something somewhere, something, and I could feel. I got that sense that I can feel when there's something there, there's something there.
hmm.
That day that there's pictures of the juvenile prints, footprints, that was going up Holly River. And I heard that whoop and I
Hmm.
jumped out of the truck. That's what I found those. I mean, went down on the creek
Yeah,
beside. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
yeah. Those prints that you found there that you showed me, I mean, those were very, very clear. I mean, awesome tracks. Now, Steve, I don't think Steve's. Did you uh, did you post them anywhere else on Facebook? I know you posted them on your Somerville page, but I don't know. Have you posted them
I'm
anywhere
going to put them
publicly
in
on
one of
Facebook before?
yours. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll have to pull that up. But yeah, if Steve, yeah, Steve, you'll have to check them out. These were found what not even a month ago, were they? It was about
Right.
maybe a month ago, maybe.
Maybe. I was on my fishing trip, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Now I know
Either
you're
there
just about
me.
five. You're only
Okay,
about
maybe.
5-10 minutes away from where I live. I live right here in Camora. So.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in New Hope, like 4 houses down from the fire hall. So
Oh, okay, okay. So, yeah, 'cause I know you have children, but I don't think that they're probably too young for my daughter to know them. You have how old
well,
is your son?
my son is 13, but we homeschool him, and my daughter's in college. So
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so they wouldn't know my daughter. She's 15 and she's over there at Fort Defiance. So
yeah.
yeah. So okay. Um.
Well, I'll tell you what. While I got you on here, if you don't mind, because I know you can't be on too late, and I know you got to get up in the morning.
Yeah,
Um,
4 o'clock comes early.
Man, I'm glad I don't have to do that. I had to do that a couple times last week. So
Yeah, it sucks.
yeah, it does. Now I remember I've seen that footage from, if I'm not mistaken, you said it. I want to quote me if I'm wrong, because you said it was from your ex-husband, and then your son, when they were together, did the film those tracks, right?
Yeah, and then we went back. I want to say it was like the next weekend with and met. Is it Billy Willard or
Yeah,
something like
Billy
that?
Willard. Yeah,
Um, because we had contacted a few people and they never responded back, and he was the only one that responded.
right.
And him and his wife met us up there, but it had rained in between. Um, so they made a few casts, and my son has one, but it wasn't. You weren't able to really see any detail because, like I said, it had rained in between. So
Right. Okay. Now as far as those tracks go, apart from that, um, have you personally, you yourself, have you ever had any experience or anything related to Bigfoot that you could share or recall?
yeah, actually, that I don't know if any of you have been. It used to be you could camp on the right side going out to Switzer Dam on 33. It right before the foot of the mountain, before you start up the mountain.
Oh,
And we
you
used
said
to
going.
camp in there.
Okay, yeah, there is. I
Yeah, on
know.
33 West.
Right. 'Cause there is a campground there with a little pond there. That's in Brandywine, right? Wait.
No, this is all before that. We're still on Virginia side.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, like you leave Harrisonburg and you're going out, and the road it kind of just becomes straight. And you
Okay.
used to be able to camp over there. Well, I don't know, last 3, 4 years they clear cut a whole bunch of it. So now the camp sites are all gone. But they
Right.
were primitive, just you go and build your own rock pile for a fire, and there was a river that runs through there.
Right. That's exactly how it is
But
where I go.
yeah, yeah, we've heard, I personally have heard rocks being thrown in the river. We
Mm.
heard, I don't even know how to describe it. It was a scream that started. We had put camp up, put our tents up, built a fire, and started cooking. Later that night, you could hear almost sounded like an owl, but it wasn't an owl. It was just more like a scream, like something was agitated, and
Mm.
it went the entire length. Like it started off on the right of us, and it just you could hear it follow that whole ridge line all the way up, and it just went for miles. You could hear it. It was moving too fast to be um, like a person walking. That's not because this was pitch dark, um, and I've never heard a sound like that since. And I could not tell you what it was, but it wasn't long after that. Then somebody had reported an actual sighting. They were driving their vehicle right in that same area. So I'm, thinking, okay, that's probably what it was. It was irritated with us being there. Um, in fact, we actually called it a night after hearing that and went on to bed. Um, and then over in West Virginia, where I'm from, of course, my parents have several hundred acres of land, and that's where my son does a lot of his research and stuff. We have a lot of activity. I would say you can put boards and stuff up against the barn, and you'll come back, they'll be knocked down, there'll be prints there, and it's not accessible to humans. You can't drive a vehicle up. The gate is locked at all times. You have to have four-wheel drive to get there, or walk in. Um, there's what do you call, like, when it looks like people have put like a teepee out of wood around the trees and stuff. There's a whole bunch of them. Um, we've just had a lot of unusual activity going on in the area. And like I said, it's very primitive. It's hard to get to. Um, and in fact, this summer, my son wants to go back, and we want to, do some camping up there. And he has the night vision camera and night vision goggles and things like that. I don't know if any of y'all would be interested in,
Well,
maybe doing something like that, or
I was just gonna be
you all are
blunt and
more
ask
than
if
welcome.
I was gonna ask if I could come. Yeah, but you invited me before I asked.
Yeah.
So. Hey, that's not far from
Yeah, I mean,
here. I mean,
and this is more. My son is at the beach right now with my daughter, so I kind of got stuck doing this. He's actually, I don't want to say more into it than I am, but it's me and him together. And like I said, we over the years have bought him some really nice equipment and things like that.
awesome.
That we'd be more than happy to show you all the area, and he can tell you more of his experience. He's had some. You can go up there and do tree knocks, and you can hear tree knocks back. He does a lot of whoops, and he gets some responses back. It's the tree structures are interesting because they follow edge of fields that are up there, which
Right.
Just going out on a hunch, I would say, I'm thinking that it's something that they use to mark their territories with. And that would be my theory anyways.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Because
Area is,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was interrupting you.
sorry. Lilo, stop. No, I just think Switzer Dam is probably a hot area right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just us. There's been several sightings. If you get on some of the other websites, I know there's been at least 2 sightings. I think one within the last year or so. But yeah, anytime y'all want to get together, and I'd be more than happy to go with you.
Now, what? Because I know, all right, Donna and Steve, they both live in West Virginia. But so now this part of West Virginia you're referring to is this well, actually, what part of West Virginia is this towards the Franklin area or?
So, no, well, the Switzer Dam area is, yes.
Okay.
The area of my parents' land and stuff is actually in Matthias, West Virginia. It's in Hardy County.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know
Yeah, so it's not
Matthias.
too far from here.
All right.
Yeah, and their land borders the Lost River State Park.
All right. I'm trying to think. Matthias, that's probably closer to you, ain't it, Donna?
Where?
Matthias, West Virginia.
I don't know.
I'll have to look it up to double
So
check.
if you know, like Moorfield is the county seat. Like a lot of people know Moorfield.
Right.
You're probably like 20 minutes from Moorfield to get to Matthias.
Okay.
But from here, you actually go through Matthias before you go to Moorfield. So.
Right. Yeah. Right now, currently, my traveling is kind of limited right now because my Blazer is still out of commission for the time being. I've been using my father's secondary vehicle to get to and from and get around places right now. So, but
Yeah.
I miss my Blazer. but yeah, I definitely just because I'm just my vehicle's disabled doesn't it's not going to stop me from getting around. I always find a way to get around. So, but yeah, because I know I've had reports and stuff from other areas here in Virginia that's been shared to me, and there's things I've been kind of more or less putting off. I just haven't gotten around to them, and I want to start paying attention to these reports because um, part of what I'm doing is I'm getting a cluster, and I see from one side of Virginia down all the way to West Virginia, and it's almost like there's a straight line here that they're possibly following. I mean, 'cause you got the Parkway, and you got out towards around where you're referring to, like, I guess that's part of the you got Shenandoah Mountain, the Alleghenies that run
Yeah.
all the way out there, and Because I know Shenandoah Mountain connects to, you got West Virginia on one side of it, and then if you go to the other side of Shenandoah Mountain, you got my research area.
Yeah,
And, of course, all that area, are you familiar with Elkhorn Lake at
I
all?
am some. Yeah.
Okay, because if you're familiar with a lot of the forest road that branch in and out of there, because, one side runs into Shenandoah Mountain, and you got, other areas. I mean, it's all part of the George Washington National Forest. So, um, yeah, they all connect, and I've gotten stories and reports from other people that uh, be- long before they even knew what I did, people were sharing stuff with me when I get in to talk to them. Like I had one guy, this one guy I used to work with. He doesn't work there no more. Uh, he's an outdoorsman. He fishes. He's a professional bass fisherman, but he hunts a lot. And one day at work, he just started talking about, he knows he heard about me camping out there. He said let me tell you something. And he started telling me his story, and he told me about the sighting he had out there. And
Mhm.
then after he got done, I was like, who told you about me? He said, what? What are you talking about? He said, who told you that I look for Bigfoot? He said, are you serious? I said, yeah. I said, because no one at that time really knew anything about it, except maybe my
Right.
supervisor, because my supervisor's wife actually had. Oh yeah, you might be interested to know this. Well, by now it's been probably about 23 years ago. 23 years ago in New Hope, right where you live, she she swears up and down she had a sighting right in there, which I got to thinking about it after she told me because she said she knows bears very well because where they live, they got bears in their backyard all the time coming off the parkway. And she said it wasn't a bear because it was brown hair and it was on two legs and it was probably about 6 foot tall. Came out of a tree line, crossed the road, and ran across the other side that ran, followed the creek, and I said she told me it happened right there in New Hope, and she's an older woman. She's well, I don't know, probably close to 70. Probably yeah, mid 60s, maybe early 70s, and I found it pretty incredible because she shared that with me because her husband told me. She said my wife has something she wants to share with you because I guess he went home and told her about it. And so she came into work just to sit down to talk to me about it, which I thought was the coolest thing. So
Yeah.
and but that was 23 years ago. So I got to thinking about that. I said, well, I can't deny that there was something there because I wasn't there. Plus, you got especially the way Fred Canny says it, and he's right about how he says we're in a giant salvo because we're surrounded by nothing but mountains. You got the Blue Ridge Parkway, you got the Allegheny Mountains, and we're all surrounded by that. So, I mean, are they there's a possibility where they're traveling, but they got a lot of ground to cover between mountains. But
Yeah.
so I thought that was pretty interesting, hearing about that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
can I ask Tiffany a question?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Tiffany, I know the Potomac River runs down that way. How close is that down there to where you all are?
Um, Potomac River. That is part. It runs more over towards Moorfield, Petersburg area. I'm this side of, so I'm more east of that.
The only reason I'm asking is because that same Potomac River where I'm at is about a mile in front of me right now, and
Yeah.
I'm up here where Maryland and West Virginia and all come together
Okay.
in the Eastern Panhandle.
Right. So are you close to like Martinsburg or?
I'm west. I'm in between Berkeley Springs and Paw Paw.
Okay. All right.
Hmm. Very interesting.
Supposedly over towards you in, I want to say Hampshire County, there's a farm and a family that claims there's a family of big feet that come in.
You're right. They were out feeding their
Yeah.
dogs or
And I thought that
something
would,
at the
yeah,
counter with them.
yeah.
It's not far from me either.
So, but yeah, I don't know. Do you know where Romney is?
Yes, I was there a couple days ago.
Okay. My dad grew up not far from there,
Well,
so kind of familiar with that area as well.
yeah. Hmm. I've always sworn that these rivers and these train tracks are a highway for these things.
Yeah, I think definitely they need a water source.
Mm.
Um, and I think, the mountains, they provide shelter. It's kind of like any animal. It needs water, food, and shelter. That's the three basic principles that they need. And the mountains, I think, are a perfect place for them.
Yeah. Now, let me ask. This is for anyone, all of you guys. But now, this is some information I've shared before, and this is just based off of my research. And like this may not be the same in other locations elsewhere, but this is a pattern that I've kind of picked up on, and I found that it's repeated itself over the years. But and people hear me talk about this all the time. How you know I look for where the bears are. I research and look for bear signs, and every time, a majority of the time, I come across bear signs, bear tracks. There's always signs of squatch signs there. Now, I don't know if there's a pattern where maybe they're following them because the bears follow the food source. They follow the creek beds, the food sources. I believe that there's a similar pattern there. It's like the squatches have that intelligence to do the same thing. I mean, is it just a coincidence I'm finding these same patterns over and over? Because I mean, you know, some people might say, well, how do you know you're finding, you're seeing squash signs? You might be seeing just bigger bear signs. No, there is a big difference. I know I've seen very large bear tracks. I'm ranging 50. I've seen bear tracks almost 15 inches long. So I mean, I know how to tell the difference between a bear track and a humanoid-looking track. So, um, but I don't know. Have any of you ever thought about that, or maybe even found anything
Yes,
similar to that?
yes, I have.
You have?
Because when I went back with my GoPro, because I got that for my birthday. Anyway, when I went back and I got, after having that video, the last video I put up that had something in it, I went back up there again to do the hunt, where there's nothing there, just to show you where it was standing and all that. On that video, there was a young bear right there,
Oh.
up from it, up from the sighting area. Yeah. I startled it. I knew it was I startled it though when I ran over. And I ran over and it took off running, of course. But I'm like, well, I hope Mama ain't trying to move her close. But you're right. It seems to be that I've noticed that, or at least there's signs of them.
Yeah, it's just I decided. I mean, because with people misidentifying bears a lot, or because you hear about it all the time. I think that's part of what got me, trying to understand the bears very well, because bears, and not just bears, but you got to understand all the other wildlife too, because deer, they have their own patterns, and they have usually a specific territory they usually work, you know, and bears, yeah, they it seems that they have a pattern, but yeah, at the same time, bears, there's no limit to what bears will travel to and what they'll do. But it's just I
I,
decided to kind of pay attention to that. I, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tiffany. You were about to say something?
I've been involved at the state park where they caught, tagged, and released black bear
Oh,
at the
cool.
state park, and that was interesting. There is definitely um, some big bear in that area, um, and I think you're right. I think bear is a natural one of the biggest predators that we have in the area. It just makes sense that something bigger would follow them.
Right.
And bear eat a wide range of food. You have the cornfields. I've seen them just go in the middle of a cornfield, sit down, and as far as they can reach, would just pull over the corn shucks and just sit there and eat the corn. Um, so they're not just meat eaters. they're,
Right.
you know, herbivores as well.
Right.
I've seen them eat berries. I've seen them destroy the big ant hills. They'll rake off the top and just destroy the ant hills. I've seen that. And I think, Bigfoot tends to maybe follow, like you said, the same patterns that bear do. And I think a lot of times maybe it gets misrepresented as being bear, and maybe it's not, and vice versa. I think
Right.
it's easy to do.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, because as far as my study in bears and research, that we all do know that they will eat meat, but their main majority of their diet is vegetation. I mean, they're
Right.
80%, yeah, because they're 80% vegetarian versus the other 20% of meat. I mean, not just as I witnessed, on two different occasions. One location where I've had a very large bear sighting, which it crossed the road. I was leaving out of my area and coming out of the woods before you come to the open field. I had, I've told people this. The biggest black, I know there was big black bears in the area. I've seen big black bears, a 320-pound black bear. That's a big bear. I've seen them checked in at the weigh station, from hunters. But I knew there was bigger bears in the area than that. I just haven't physically seen them till about it's probably been about 3 or 4 months by now. And after seeing what I saw, I was driving out with my Blazer, and I couldn't believe my eyes because that bear on all fours crossing the road. I swear, his back was, I tell everybody it was probably a good foot well over the top of my Blazer, the front of my Blazer, and maybe that was underestimating or under whatever the right word is to use. I was underestimating the height, but in the large size. But I seen how long he was and how high up he was, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Because after I seen him cross the road, I got up to the point where he crossed, and I didn't realize how steep that big bear went up a very steep ridge. And I know that bears are known for climbing ridges and stuff. Well, I know my father was leaving out of that same area one day, and I wasn't with him, but he told me about it, and he said, "Daniel, I think I seen the same bear you said you saw." He said, because it was in the same exact location. He said that bear was standing there on the side of the road on all fours. And Dad asked me, he said, when you went by there, I just came by there later that evening when he said he saw it because I got the voicemail. He said, "Did you see a dead rabbit in the road?" I said, "No," because he says, when I saw that bear, I was staring at the bear and I ran over I ran over a rabbit at the same time, but that bear. He said that bear probably scoffed him up after I left. I said maybe so, but because Dad was mesmerized by the size of that bear. He said that bear's head was bigger than his steering wheel, and he says because Dad was driving in the vehicle I'm driving right now. It's a Dodge Neon, and he said. He swore that bear was probably almost as big as that Neon, if not bigger. I said, "Dad, that was the same bear. I told you he was big." So apparently he crossed it there. That's a travel route. So after learning that he just saw that bear there, the next day I went back into that same location. I parked off the side, and I looked around for tracks and everything. I mean, right there where he would have been standing, there's plenty of clear soil, soft soil. I did not see not one track belonging to a bear in here, which was incredible. The only thing I saw in there was deer tracks. And
Right.
I even went on the other side where the creek was because you got a stream that runs through there and a couple little creeks that branch off. And I walked through there. It's real thick in there, but there was a lot of clear mud spots in there. Did not see no bear tracks. I swear that big bear does not leave tracks. I don't know. He's good at hiding his tracks, that's for sure.
Dan, you've known me long enough, and you know my history here where I live at.
Oh yeah.
I have 3 active bear dens here within a mile of my house.
Hmm.
So, and I have the activity I have here, even with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So, yeah.
my when I saw him in November last year, I'd already seen a black bear up there. I mean, that's why I thought I was going to be looking at a black bear. So, yeah, that rings true on two so far.
Hmm.
I mean,
So I mean, in this general, really, it does seem like there. Like I said, I feel, and according to like my research, and it seems like you guys are, agreeing on to a certain extent. But it may not be the same case in other areas. Maybe other people maybe haven't tried to observe this. I don't know. Because I've had someone tell me that before. So, well, what you might be finding, the patterns you might be finding in your area might not be the same here versus the east to the west or whatever down further south. I mean, yeah, because you got a different scenario down south. The further south you go, you got other predators and other animals that more widely ranged of other species, but perhaps there's different patterns.
You also like if you go out west, or say up to Alaska, you're dealing with a different beast up there. You're dealing with a grizzly bear,
Yeah.
and they're a different animal, so their territorial instincts may be different. Where these things can coexist with a black bear to an extent, it may have no possibility of coexisting with a grizzly. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
What works on one side of the country may not work on the other.
Right. Yeah, it's like, well, that reminds me of a comment I had on one of my videos, one of my webcasts not long ago, and I was talking about bears, and this one guy from Alaska, he says, you don't know nothing about bears. He said, bears mark trees everywhere. I said, I believe that. I said, I've seen markings on trees, from bears, but it's not that widely. With black bears, they have a different way of marking territory. I mean, I have seen scrapings on trees from black bears. But you see, up in Alaska, yeah, that's what I told him. I said, you got grizzly bears. You got more aggressive territorial animals up there. I said, black bears, they're not entirely, like that down here. And I said, you're dealing with a whole different species there. So I said, trust me, I know what I'm talking. I'm not an expert. I told him that. I said, I'm not an expert, but I said I've been researching and studying these, a lot of wildlife, specifically black bear, for a long time, and especially their scat, and because a lot of people claim finding all this different type of scat thinking it is Bigfoot. I said no. I said you got to understand, not everything's going to be Bigfoot, and I mean, I don't know this. I don't know.
Guys, I don't
Oh
mean to
yeah, go.
interrupt, but I'm gonna have to hop out to go check on my dad. So it was
Oh,
very nice meeting you all, and
absolutely.
hopefully we can do it again, and I can stay on a little bit longer.
Oh, not a problem. That would be great, and I totally understand. Not a
Send them
problem.
traps.
Yeah, and feel free contact me on Facebook or anything. Just you
Okay,
know.
awesome.
So
Well, and thanks for coming on. It was great hearing what you had to share too. That was very
sure,
awesome.
sure, no problem. And like I said, the offer's up if y'all want to get together, and I can show you the area that we go to. That's no problem.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to plan that. Maybe around September. I know I got some time off in September, so
Yeah, that'd be great.
so
Yeah, that'd be
maybe it
great.
won't be
Yeah.
so hot then,
All right. Well, you
But
all take care.
you too. Thank you very much. First of all, I wanted to ask you. I know you've been busy lately, but have you been getting any recent activity up there lately?
Um. Oh yeah, a little bit. Um. Actually, a good thing kind of happened. I guess last week, my wife was out hanging clothes, and I'm sitting here where I'm at right now, and I'm sitting there talking to her, and right from down the bottom, bap bap bap. I said, "You heard it." I said, "You heard it," and she couldn't deny it. It was three. It sounded like three major league home runs in a row, and I mean very fast ones.
Did she try to say, well, you're playing games with me? You had somebody do that?
I mean, she heard it. It was it's you know it wasn't no denying. She heard three knocks. Just trying to figure out what it was. It was a thing, but it was there. You
Mm,
know,
that's good. What she have to say about that? I mean, like,
she's she's really a skeptic. She doesn't believe in it, but I mean, I
Right.
think that got her thinking a little bit more about it because she heard something for herself. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really weird because at one point, I don't have to get up early in the morning anymore because my son's out of school now. So it was early in the morning. We were hearing those long, drawn out whoops. It wasn't like a whoop. It was a whoop, real loud, like it was like a firehouse siren.
Right.
And the dogs would go crazy. I mean, you could hear the dogs just going nuts all over the mountain. And I don't get up early, so I don't hear that stuff anymore. But here lately, I'll be sitting out here, and I'll hear things hitting the top of my tin roof above me. I don't know if it's if it's something throwing something up here. Or it's no wind blowing. Two things have hit up here tonight. There's no acorns in the tree, so I don't know what that is.
Huh.
And
That's
then
yeah, that's mysterious.
I've been poking around, in the woods what I can, because it's hard for me to get around and walk. But anyway, I've been poking around and up here on the edge of the road here now. Within the last couple of weeks, I put a picture up of it. An X has come up where something snapped off a tree and made an X.
Oh.
So I don't know what the I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Huh. I mean, did it look like it got the limb or the tree that got broke? Did it look like it got forcefully?
It got snapped off and made an X-ray. I'll send you a picture of it.
Okay, cool.
Picture of it. No, I'm scared to death of snakes, man.
What's that?
I'm scared to death of snakes.
I don't like snakes either.
Tree in front of me.
Oh.
There's a snake in front of me.
Where, right now?
It just fell out the tree. It's hanging on the tree.
What color is it?
No, it's not a big one, but I don't know. I got a chicken sitting there. Maybe he'll kill it. Dude, I don't like them damn things.
It might be just like it might be a small rat snake. Sometimes rat snakes will climb trees and stuff. Look for a
water snake or something like that.
Yeah.
Remember you told me that I couldn't see the bottom of that squatch that I was looking at up there for 12, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
I just thought that the reason why is because there was a drop off right there. There was a road down below, so there was like a 3-foot drop there, and that's why I couldn't see its legs, and I couldn't see if it was all, hunkered down like down, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't see its bottom. Everything has a bottom, and the reason I couldn't see it was still down in that drop off there, with like a embankment by this road that was down, old road that was down there. So that would explain why. That explains to me why I couldn't see its bottom or its legs. But it still was way up over that. Even being hunkered down, it was way over that log. But they had been 8 foot tall or whatever. If it would have stood up.
Huh.
I'm wondering about that.
Interesting. Steve,
No.
I don't know if I ever asked you or what first got you involved with getting into Bigfoot?
All right. You really want to know?
Yeah.
I got into Bigfooting back in the late 70s. I guess it was around 78, 79-ish. I found a book in the library about it in school.
Oh.
And I started reading about it. I read that first book, and then it was like after that I couldn't get enough. I kept reading. And I grew up on a farm in southern Maryland. And believe it or not, there were some weird things going on even down there in southern Maryland. And I actually saw a footprint in it was a swamp behind the house in the marsh and all down in there. And I actually found a real nice footprint, but I was young enough that I was too young to know to take a casting of it. But I didn't tell anybody because everybody would laugh at you about it. It's nothing. It's just something. Whatever. So, I just wasn't. So I never did nothing about that. But I kept reading about it, and I kept studying. I kept reading and kept studying, and it fascinated me so much. And then I got away from it. I just kind of got my mind on other things. And then I moved up here, and this stuff started happening up here, which I wasn't expecting because, I never thought it would be around this part of the world. I was thinking this thing lives out in the Pacific Northwest. And then the more I started seeing what was going on here and going back and researching and this, that, and I was like, I need to really talk to somebody. And then, through my research, that's how I went out meeting you and other people and figuring out, man, this stuff's going on. And then that night that the incident happened out here, when the bathroom was occupied, I had to come out here, and I was whizzing off my porch, and my porch sits up about 8 feet off the ground, and whatever was down below it had to have been at least 7 foot. I mean, it was dark out here, so I couldn't see, but it turned, and it made about, 6, 7 steps, boop, 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 right on into the woods. So whatever it was up here, and I mean, a bear's going to run on 4 legs, not 2. So,
oh yeah,
things just started adding up more and more. And that's when I realized what it was.
Man, we need to get some trail cameras down behind your house there.
Coming.
Yeah,
I'm coming.
Tell you what, if I could recommend one, I know I kind of more or less I showed them on here before. If you can, I'll tell you. I mean, I know there's probably better ones than this one here, but this one here, for being the high quality that it is, I think it's very important. Oh, what's that?
Your camera's not on.
Oh yeah, I don't have it in my hands. It's actually in the
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually in the car because I was actually gonna place it. There's one location. This part of the parkway. I was actually gonna go by there after work, but I was too tired. I was like, I'm just gonna go straight home today. So but yeah, it's a small one. I'll have to. I don't know if I have a picture of it. No, I'll send you a picture of it. I'm sure I have it somewhere. But it's made by Browning. Browning makes a series of night cameras. You got I think one's called Strike Force, Night Force. The one I have is called Browning's Night Ops, I think, if I'm not, or Night Ops or Black Ops or something, one of the two. This one here, when I first bought it, I think I paid $135 for it. Now you can buy those same ones for probably $110, maybe a little less now. I don't know. The last time I looked them up, the prices dropped way down on them. And what I like about this one here, I'm sure they're all very similar. They record with audio. Your video lengths, you can set them to up to 2 minutes in length. It's high def videos. And as far as the audio goes,
Yeah.
If it starts hearing something before it sees it, it'll start recording. That way, it'll already be recording. If something comes by, you'll catch that too. I learned that back when I first started playing around with it. When I had it set up on a high ridge when I was camping over in Fred's area, and when I went to check my footage, I was like, "What the heck? I don't see nothing." And then I saw a deer walk by. So I was like, "Weird. Why is that showing? Why did it start recording? It didn't see none." So then I listened to it. I watched it again. I actually happened to have my headset in. I was like, "Oh, you can hear something walking." And this happened twice. One time it was actually a hunter that walked by, and it was late at night. And then, because you could hear the steps, you could hear the bipedal steps. Then you could hear the other steps coming. This was in a different clipping. And then here comes a deer walking by. I was like, man, that is awesome. So yeah, like I said, it'll record before it sees anything. It's got to hear it first. But the other thing is, it does not have infrared. It has a different type of technology that puts out a really clear high def image. Like I said, so when you set the sensor off, you're not going to see no flash on it whatsoever. And what's the other thing? Oh, and they have about a 70-foot range. which is pretty good because versus most majority of trail cameras have anywhere from a 45 to 55 range. Like I said, this one here is up to 70 feet range, foot range on this one. So I mean, I find it's very impressive. I like it. Um, but I want to tell you as far as when you mentioned about you didn't know about the different activities, or you never heard about or never thought about your area being active or having Bigfoot in the area. You know, I tell you one book. I don't know if you're a reader or not, if you like to read, but here's one book. I've already gone through it, and sometimes it's good. I like to touch up on a few things and know about certain areas. But this is by Lauren Coleman. It's called Bigfoot: The True Story of Apes in America, which is it has like a lot of different encounters. He shares stories of different people up along the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. And it's actually pretty good. I mean, and for a small book like this, it gives off a lot of information. But yeah, that's mainly what it talks about: different encounters and descriptions of what people see and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that was a pretty good book. So yeah, you said your story, everything, it pretty much started back in the late '70s, huh?
Yeah, that's when I got all into it. It was, I don't know, it was like weird. Once I found out what it was, I was hooked on it.
That's pretty cool. All right. See, hold on, let me look at something here. Tell you what, especially where you live, like Donna too, like right where you guys live. I mean, you guys have active areas, and you don't have to go too far, which is awesome, though. Basically, you guys could, just walk out your back door. And see where I'm at. I wish it was like that for me, but where I'm located, I mean, yeah, I'm surrounded by the mountains. Yeah, I got I got an awesome view of the mountains right behind my house. But which sometimes I walk over that way. That's not normally where I go, but I've hiked the woods, and I'm into the parkways, where there's a lot of big deer, because in the parkway out here there's hunting. I mean, hunting is prohibited on the Shenandoah National Parkway. Which is the same thing. It's all part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and that's why a lot of the wildlife up there grows to be so large, and some of the deer, they're very I don't know. It's like a lot of the deer up on the top of the parkway. You could actually get into within a few feet of range from them, because they know they're protected up there. Tell you what.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that.
What's that?
I stopped and went to pet a deer, and the lady come up, man. I didn't see her. She come up, man. She's like, "You can't do that. You can't do that. They'll get hit by cars." I mean, she was game warden or something. She got all up on me about it.
Well, actually, on the parkways, I know over here, they more or less warn you. I mean, I was reading something tonight, earlier tonight, and they don't mind if you touch them. You're doing what you're doing on your own risk. I mean, they advise you not to, even though they appear to be harmless. And they're letting you get that close to them. It's just they could still react, especially if one's going to become protective over another one. I mean, their legs are very strong, and they could cut you up, but they said it's been reported that some people have learned the hard way. But they do advise you not to, but it doesn't say don't touch them. But um, one of the things I posted a while back, and this is actually in the parkway behind my house. That it's from here, it's close to from leaving out of the house. If I was to walk on foot to go over that way, it's about a mile and a half. And I got into exploring. I like to explore in the woods and the creek beds and everything else out there that run into the mountains. And I thought it was a cool thing. I knew exactly what it was when I came across it, because like I said, I research and and study bears. And they say it's very rare if you do come across the remains of a dead bear that's died of natural causes. And to find this out there in the mountains where there's no hunting allowed, I thought this was very impressive, to find the skull of a black bear. You know, this is one of my exciting findings. You know, one of some of the other collections I have with different bones are shed antlers and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought this was a very impressive find right here of a black bear skull. But yeah, there was a couple other bones with it, parts of the vertebrae and stuff like that. But you know, most of it was scattered from, you know, I'm sure other rodents and stuff that's gotten a hold of them. But yeah, you know, that's kind of a rare find, I guess you could say. But so, um, yeah, let me see. I don't know where what's the name is. Traffic. Okay, he hasn't said nothing. Oh wait, he's online. Let's see. All right. Well, I'm checking up on Michael here.
Maybe you didn't see the link.
Let's see. All right. I don't know. We'll see what he does in a second. It shows. Yeah, it shows that he's online. I'll give him a few minutes, see if he's going to jump on. If not, I could actually do this separate with him afterwards, which is no big deal. Yeah, because I wasn't really trying to stay on too long, too late. It's actually, I mean, it's early compared to where I normally would do this. But trying to think. Yeah, because I was going to get him to come on and talk about. He knows a lot about the Parkway itself, because you know he grew up on a farm, worked on a farm, riding horses up along the Parkway. He's actually shared, apart from what he shared with me before, from when he was a young kid, he shared some other recent things. He's learned about some weird happenings with people that live on the mountain, other mountain people and stuff, which was pretty cool. But he knows. I mean, he's trying to tell me about stuff, places on the Parkway that I never heard of before. So, yeah, he knows the mountains and the woods pretty well. But, like I said, if I can't get him to come on tonight, I'll do another session with him afterwards, which I could record it. But, hold on. Oh, he just popped up. Trying computer won't work right. Oh, he said it's freezing up on him. Ah. Hold on.
We've got another storm coming here too.
See, might be, yeah, it might be his connection. All right. Well, tell you what. I'm gonna try to work with him to try to see if I can do something. I'll do him separate, because either way I could. It doesn't. Everything doesn't have to be on the same thing, but I figured it would be easy to get everybody all together on one thing, and that way I could edit, you know, each person, you know, the way I wanted to try to do it before. The only thing is, when I try to download this after I get off of this, I don't know if it's gonna let me download it since I set it to private. I might have to turn it to public, to publish it public, so I could look it up through my phone and download it, and then do it that way. So I don't know. I'll figure it out one way or another. I'll get it downloaded. But I'll tell you. Oh, hold on, he just popped up again. Yeah, we just powered down the Wi-Fi, and I checked all cables and connections. Turning that on now. Okay. All right, I'll give him a few minutes. See what's going on. All right. Do you want to? You guys have any plans or any techniques that you guys might be wanting to try Anything new that you might probably haven't tried before that you might be wanting to experiment with?
I tried gifting and I'm not doing that again.
What's that?
Sorry, hold on a minute. Here we go. I tried gifting and I'm not going to do that again.
No, what happened with that?
Human interference.
What's that? Oh, you
Human
said
interference.
oh, from other people messing around?
Well, one of my neighbors had pictures of my gifting station on their phone,
Oh.
which caused me to lose it there for a little bit because I had some interesting things going on and don't know if it was real. I can't say, yeah, that was happening because they just blew everything I had going.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
And it looked bad. I mean, that was a hurt. I don't want to ever feel again. You know? So I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, I can see that would be disturbing and upsetting to me too if you know that. Yeah.
You see, the whole time that this is really funny. It's okay, I didn't talk about this, okay? While I was up there hunting after my sighting, I'd give the universal, I'm after this, I'm after a buck, I'm not after you, okay? You know, I'd do that. No wonder I wouldn't pick it up right away. Well, I've been talking to these things, right? And I'm like, okay. But I do that every so often. I'd say, I'm after this, universal buck, okay? Well, in, I think it was February, or I believe in February, I'm a hunter. I'm going to see a skull laying in my backyard or close to my backyard. I'm going to see it immediately when I've been walking up there today. One day I walk up through there and here's this old 10-point buck skull, just the top of the skull with the antlers still on it. There wasn't no bottom to it, or it was just the top of the skull and the antlers. And it was sitting on my path and had moss and stuff on it, but not moss from there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It had been set there. Okay? And I'm thinking, I'm sorry people not after. I mean, it happened at night, okay? And how did they know I was up there doing that? I was up there by myself. You know? I don't know, it kind of, like I said, I've been up that path many times before that showed up there.
Right.
And I would have seen it.
You
know, I would have seen it. And I don't know. So it made me thankful because I know that the one on November the 14th, November 24th, sorry. I know the one on November 24th knew that I could have killed it dead. I could have killed it dead right there. I had my 30-30. It wasn't that far away. If it had been a buck, I'd have had it. You know, I'd have had it. So it's like, and that's another thing that I'm wondering because 10 days before that's when I got my 9-point right there to the right of my sighting. I mean, just right there, like 10 yards.
Right.
I saw it, or less than that actually, maybe 20 feet. I just wonder if they saw me do that too, you know.
Yeah, you just remind me of something. You remember that you were sharing with me the other day, you were asking about, you were talking about how you saw some deer in the field. And yeah, and you said it seemed like you felt like they noticed something in one area and then they came running towards you and then they
it
stopped.
scared me down. Yeah, they come on straight at us. Boom! I was like, I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened.
Because that's kind of strange too. Because I got to think about that. So it's funny because deer, they get a human scent, they're not going to go in that direction.
Right.
Which is weird.
One day though, there was a doe before that. We were on the side during that time. There was a doe that came up. It was on the road, and as we had to stop, And when we stopped, she was doing the paw thing, you know, with her hoof, and it
Right.
still came towards us, And I'm like, but this is out on a dirt road out in the woods, okay? This is out in the woods. We were in the woods, deep in the woods, where it's dark in there when it's actually outside, you know? We were in there, and that was weird. I don't know what that was.
That's weird. Yeah, when I was out there camping that week, um, I've had doe snorting at me or blowing, and because it was one night, it was actually 2 nights in a row, I heard a doe snort or blow. But then after that, I was like, what got my attention after that? It was like, what the heck is that? I hear a loud thump across the road into the woods. I was like, and then I didn't hear nothing else. I was like, that's awful weird, you know? And then I hear it again the next night. This only happened like 2 nights in a row. I hear the doe again because there's a doe apparently, right across the road. The deer all over the place in there. And then that same part of the woods is where a lot of the activities taking place, the encounters, and vocalizations I've had in the past. Well, I don't know. It seems like other weird things happen there too. But especially with the deer and stuff, it's like I think their behavior gets altered by what might be coming in there, and so. But like I said, I know the doe apparently maybe they got wind of me. I mean, I've had a fire in the evening going, and so. But yeah, the doe, they're like snorting, I'm blowing, and then I hear that loud thump, and then the next night I hear it again, but a little louder, and I'm like, it's quiet, and the only thing you hear in the distance, maybe some frogs peeping, chirping and whatnot, and then you hear that big boom, and there's no one there, there's no one around it. There's a site, there's a space up a little ways where people could be camping there, but there was no one camping there. And because those are the only two areas where you can camp right in that specific spot. Because the spot I was camping at, is a spot that's usually next to is next to the other spot that's next to me, which I'm usually camping up there, which is almost on the corner. But this is a different area. I wanted to be kind of closer to the water and everything. So, but yeah, I don't know. The does are weird. And then I heard something else I didn't recognize. And I was like, what in the world was that? And I actually got it on recording. And then when Fred came back the next day, I told Fred, I said, Fred, I told him I described it exactly how I heard it. And he said, that might be that juvenile squatch. And because remember that sound? I said, yeah. I said, but it wasn't like that sound we heard, Fred. Because he was referring to one that me and him heard together one night in that across the woods. I said, nah, it was more of like a child in distress, like crying, and it just didn't dawn on me. I just didn't recognize it. And of course, keep in mind that was like late at night, and it kind of freaked me out because like, what the heck was that? It was over there, over towards my camp. It was in my camp, but it was over towards the creek. And so it's funny. The next day, over towards the creek, I'm here. I heard, and I know a buck's blow when he grunts and blows. I was like, holy crap! I said, there's a buck over there. I said, I bet it's the same one that I've been looking for back during the hunting season because I know there's a buck that works that area, and I know he's a big buck too. And I heard that blow. I was like, yeah, he's over there. He got wind of me. He's over there. And then right after I heard the buck blow, I heard that same sound I heard the night before. And it dawned on me. I said, that's a doe over there. He's messing with a doe or something. It was a young doe. And I was like, why didn't I recognize that before? But it just at night, to hear that at night, the way I heard it, kind of like, creeped me out. And I was like, that's something I never heard before. But yeah, I was like, then I heard, like I said, I heard it during the daytime. It was like just before noon. I was like, oh, wow. Because I put two and two together. I say, okay, there's a buck over there, and he's, maybe he's giving the doe a hard time. I don't, and it's not during the rut season, so unless he's acting up, or maybe he wanted some out of season. I don't know. So, but yeah, it was weird. But yeah, I put two and two together. I figured out it was a doe making that sound. It was a young doe. No, that's for sure. It was like how a doe, how a doe will bleat, but it was more of an extended bleat, like a cry, like it almost sounded like a kid crying, whining, but a
Yeah.
little bit enhanced. So yeah, it was exciting because when Fred came back later, I was like, Fred, I figured out what that sound was because I heard it right after he left, and I told him about it. I said, Fred, that was a doe. I was like, I didn't realize it until I heard it during the daytime, just after hearing the buck snorting and blowing. But over in those neck of the woods, there's been some activity over there. There's things. My father, there was one time me and my father were hunting together, and I took Dad into the area because I said, Dad, a lot of deer in here. I said, this is a bedding area in here, and then keep in mind this is also the same location where me and Fred had a black panther, black cat cross the road, and it came out of that area. And one time, Dad thought I was closer to him than he realized. When he told me after we met back up, he told me something he heard. And I said, Dad, I said, no, I was way down by the other end. I was down by the river. He said, I was over here. I said, yeah, Dad, we weren't that far, but yet we were plenty far apart. Because I said I was sitting on the ground posted up against a tree, and I had a tree knock behind me. I told him, I said, I thought you were coming up behind me. I turned around, there was no one there. And because, I'm in somewhat of an opening, but I got that pine thicket. It's real thick in one cluster. And, of course, then you got the river down that runs down behind there. And after we met back up, Dad was telling me something he heard. He says, I don't know what it was, but he said, I heard a guttural growl. I said, and he described it. He imitated what he heard. I said, really? That's exactly what you heard. I said, Dad, that's not a bear. I says, I mean, maybe, I said, the only thing, I said, it could have been a cat. I said, you look up in the trees, there's a lot of big trees around here and a lot of fallen timber around here. It could have been a cat, a mountain lion. He says, I don't know. He said, that's very possible, but he said, that's, what I heard was, it made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He says, he said, I thought it was you playing with me. I said, no, I wouldn't do that to you. But yeah, he described exactly what he heard, and he still talks about it. I said, Dad, maybe there was a squatch nearby, because I told him, I said, I heard a tree knock behind me. I said, maybe there was a squatch in the area that was, or maybe it might have been a couple of them. We were between them. I mean, well, they were between us. So, but I don't know. That was kind of interesting that he heard that. Because I try to get Dad in the woods as much as possible. So after his knee surgery and after he heals up, hopefully he can get around a little bit more, accessible, just, but yeah, he wants to get out in the woods with me, because, I share stuff with him. I share, my different experiences. He hears about them, and I tell him everything. Every time I come out of the woods, he's like, I want to see your pictures. I want to hear about what happened. He's always wanting to report, So he's like the first one I report to, before I do anything online, So, yeah, he's like, I want to get out there and experience this with you. I say, I want you to too. So, I mean, he believes what I share, but he just wants to share, experience it for himself, I said, Dad, there's a lot of awesome stuff out there. I mean, not just with Bigfoot stuff, but, I get excited over seeing and observing wildlife because, sometimes you see them do things that you wouldn't expect sometimes, But, it's awesome. But I'm gonna get him out there. Once his leg gets healed up enough to where he can start walking a little bit better. I'll take him on. I know I'll take it easy with him. I'll take him on some, you're not really a trail or nothing, but I know there's plenty of flat ground around there. Because usually when I'm by myself, I mean, there's times I'll go climb a really steep ridge. I get crazy sometimes when I'm by myself. I see a location I want to get to, and it looks promising that it could be something up there, I'll climb it. I'll get, if I see it and want to get there, that's how I am. I'll find a way to get there. Because usually it excites me, it motivates me. It's like, man, if as long as I have health in me, I'm gonna push myself to get around. but yeah, I'm gonna get him out there eventually. So but yeah,
I want to say that I've had rocks thrown. Not, I can't say at me. I'll say toward me. Not
right.
even when they're going one at me, they would hit me.
Oh yeah.
But I've had rocks thrown from behind the house, like 75 yards up from my house, where my little gifting area was, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a grapevine, wild grapevine. It was kind of set up pretty neat on its own, and but I've had rocks come down off the from up above and roll right down next close to where I was at. I'm like, really? And then go over and find the spot where they took the rock from as they went up the hill. Yeah, because you can see where the rock was setting, and there's the rock after they rolled it down or threw it or whatever they did. It ended up rolling down towards me. Never really hit me. Never been hit by one. So.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. A lot of people that say that they've had rocks thrown at them, no one's ever got hit from one. Which like I said, I've had it happen to me one time, but it was a small rock, and it came from behind me, and behind me was nothing but thick brush and bushes. But the thing is, I've heard people say, yeah, like my buddy that I talked about that was hunting over on part of the parkway. Well, it's connects to the parkway where he was hunting at. Yeah, he had a rock thrown at him, and like you said, it came down with force, like it was a direct blunt throw. I mean, it wasn't a rock falling down from nowhere. Then I had another buddy of mine. He got a report from campers that were camping in a area where it's not a normal camping area, and they had rocks thrown at them, and they had something scream at them. And he investigated after hearing their report, and he said where those rocks came from, it had to take something with strength to throw it the distance they came from, because he actually believes he found the actual location where the rocks came from, because after they pointed out the direction, it was up on a higher ridge, which a power line area ran through, and there were stones there, and he was dead directly behind their campsite. And he said he found like four spots where the impressions where the rocks were like removed and taken and thrown from there. So I was like, man, that's awesome. I said, you got to take me there. He said, I'll get you up there. And when he told me about, excuse me, where the area was, it wasn't far from where I've camped with Greg Corbin and his son. Because right there in that location, that whole area's I've gotten reports from other people, of sightings, and other activity, campers having their RV campers pushed and kicked by something late at night in the early mornings, and but apparently there's something aggressive around there, or just something trying to intimidate people to get out of there when they're there. But when I camped there, the one time I camped there, that was, like I said, that was with Greg and his son, and we didn't get no activity. We've heard a couple things in the distance, some howls and stuff like that, but nothing too mind-blowing to get too excited about. The most exciting thing we found there was that, trackway that his son pointed. Well, we were looking around behind the camp, and I actually found, what I made out was a track. His son came by. He started pointing out all the other tracks. I said, "Holy crap!" I said, "You're right." And of course, we had a deer killed nearby that was very fresh. And keep in mind, this is well out of the hunting season, and this is all part of the national forest too. So that was very exciting to find a deer kill that was dismantled in several, limb to limb, spread out, and the limbs were snapped in half, and So yeah, we believe we were finding, real Squatch evidence right there, given the reports and the history of that area. So, and we know there's been bobcats and mountain lions seen in the area too. So, I had considered them when I first found the deer kill. But when I found the bone snapped and twisted the way I did, I had to rule out the cats. So that was very exciting. But yeah, there's areas I still have yet to get to. I just haven't gotten to them yet. It's a matter of time. And Steve, I still want to get up to your area, Steve. There's no doubt.
That's cool.
Eventually, I will get there. I just don't know when at this point.
The subject you're on, I just got in an argument, and I hate to say it like this, but I did. I got in an argument with a guy about whether or not Bigfoot eat meat. Can you believe this? Whether or not they eat meat. And I asked him, I said, why don't you think they eat meat? He said because all the sightings and reports that he has heard is they all have square teeth, like for eating grass or vegetables or whatever, mushrooms, not for eating meat. I said, well, all right. I said, lions, tigers, wolves, all those animals eat meat, right? And he said, yeah. I said, so they all have canines or fangs or whatever you want to call them. They have those large teeth in the front, right? He said, yeah. I said, okay, so those teeth are used for tearing apart the meat, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. And what those all animals have in common, they have those teeth. What does Bigfoot have that those animals don't have? And he's like, what? I said, hands. He doesn't need canines.
Yeah.
He can tear apart the meat with his fingers and hands. And so why would he need canines? So it's amazing to me. But yeah, I'm a firm believer to eat meat.
Right, and with what you just presented, that makes sense because look at us. We don't have canines and we eat meat, but we have hands and of course we're modernized. We have utensils to help us cut our meat and stuff. But the
only reason we cook our meat is for health reasons. I guarantee you that's because when I met my wife, I didn't cook. I did not cook beef. I never cooked a steak before I met my wife.
Right.
She made me cook it.